From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Suicide is becoming a top killer of our cops. I'm Andrea Lutz, and we're finding out how law enforcement is combating mental health.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Veterans Day. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, on this day, we say thank you to all of our veterans, past and present. President Joe Biden began the day with a wreath-laying ceremony for the centennial commemoration of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Now, that tomb has served as the heart of Arlington National Cemetery and has become a national symbol of honor, sacrifice, and ultimate appreciation. Well, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier has historical significance for the Crow people, some of whom made the trip to Arlington for this week's ceremonies. Q2's Russ Riesinger explains.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the magnitude of this event. There's so much history tied to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. To step foot and be in the presence of all these fallen warriors is very humbling.
Ellsworth goes ahead as part of a contingent of Crow people who've made the trip to Arlington for the centennial commemoration of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. His great-great-uncle, the great Crow chief Plenty Coups, was invited there by then President Harding for the original dedication of the tomb in 1921.
He had actually, honestly, had taken many trips to Washington, D.C. To negotiate with the U.S. government on behalf of the Crow people. And he was considered to be a statesman. He was an eloquent speaker, and he represented his people very well.
This week, Goes Ahead was there to represent the Crow people, carrying the same flag that his great-great-uncle once did.
Since his passing, this flag has been handed down through my family lineage, and I'm the fifth person in succession to carry the flag, including Chief Plenty Coups himself. So it does not belong to me. But it belongs to the Crow people, and I have the distinct responsibility of carrying it for the people.
Goes Ahead is one of 8 military veterans who make up the Plenty Coup Honor Guard.
We have Vietnam veterans, we have Afghanistan war veteran, and a few other veterans that have served in different places around the world.
He says to be at this sacred place with so much significance during this special week is an honor he won't forget.
It's exciting, and it's an honor to represent not only the Crow Nation, but Montana as well. This event, it's what I feel America needs right now. In today's crazy world, This is an event that America can get behind.
I'm Russ Riesinger reporting for MTN News.
In the last 4 years, the #1 cause of death in our law enforcement officers has become suicide. That rate even higher than those killed in the line of duty. In response, Billings Police is recognizing the importance of mental health and finding ways to get through the grind.
Dealing with the stress of the job is something Billings police officers are more than used to.
It's a roller coaster, we get adrenaline dumps.
The rate of violent crime in Billings is 65% higher than the national average.
Just learning how to cope and deal with those on a day-to-day basis is part of what we're doing here.
Officer Jeff Stovall is tackling the topic of mental health here at what's called the T6 training. It's a way to provide officers and their spouses tools for mental wellness.
In our heart of hearts, we want to fix and help things. So a lot of times we're trying to do that to ourselves too. We're trying to help and fix ourselves, and we don't know all the tools to do that.
The COVID-19 pandemic has taken a toll on our first responders. Stress has led to alarming rates of domestic violence, divorce, and suicide.
You can only keep it quiet for so long, and eventually it will burst.
That's part of the reason T6 came to Montana, and specifically Billings.
There was several people from Billings that brought up that they had just had an officer commit suicide, and that this was great training and that we needed to bring it to them.
Montana's always up in the top 3 for suicides.
And now it's being tracked. In 2020, Congress passed a new law directing the FBI to create a national law enforcement suicide database. It came at a pinnacle time when all eyes are focused on law enforcement, and research showing a nearly 20% increase in resignations from 2020 to 2021.
The retention rates for law enforcement are, I mean, it's crazy. It's a stressful job enough, and then you have to deal with the scrutiny of the social communities.
So locally, officers are talking about it.
We have several different hats we have to wear. We have to be a parent with some people. We have to be a counselor, a mental health counselor. It's an explosion is what it's becoming, not just with law enforcement, but around the country, and it's a hot topic everywhere.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Veterans Day provides an opportunity to pay respects to those who have served and potentially lost their life for this country. For many men and women service members, their time in the military left them with wounds both visible and invisible.
Some of these manifest years later, as mine have, years later after your military service. The Agent Orange in my case. All the folks that served in the Middle East and Afghanistan, hopefully they'll benefit from this new bill, because it has been a challenge to navigate through the process.
Vietnam veteran Dave Powell is one of the many veterans that are suffering from the effects of toxic exposure after being exposed to Agent Orange. Powell is a supporter of legislation unveiled by U.S. Senator Jon Tester back in May that would improve benefits to veterans who became ill after being exposed to toxic chemicals. It's called the Cost of War Act. If it becomes law, it would provide immediate and lifelong VA health care access to veterans impacted by exposure to toxic chemicals, including millions of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. Establish a presumption of service connection, a condition, and toxic exposure. Focus federal research to support toxic exposure veterans and ensure that toxic exposure framework is based on sound science. At an event with Senator Tester and Helena on Tuesday, Montana VFW Adjutant Tim Peters noted the bill is important because it helps cover the unavoidable risks of war.
If you get shot and you're bleeding, that's a very easy thing to recognize and understand that we need to take care of that. But when you have something that you can't see, you can't identify what it is or what caused it, it makes it more difficult. Exposure to a toxin could take decades to show up in a person, in a veteran. So that's why it's important to get it in there.
Senator Tester was in Helena highlighting the bill ahead of Veterans Day and said it's about making sure veterans who put themselves in harm's way while serving are taken care of.
This day is more about than just paying our respects. It's about doing right by the service and paying the continuing costs of war.
Tester noted the cost of the bill across 10 years will be approximately $430 billion, and that while there has been some pushback in regards to the cost, he believes many taxpayers will be willing to take that on. Reporting in Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN News.
As we head to break on this MTN 530 News here on Q2, we once again take a second to say thank you to all of the veterans in our lives. Stay with us.
The MTN 530 News continues right after this.